The Senate has passed a bill to amend the Terrorism Prevention Prohibition Act 2022, reclassifying kidnapping and hostage-taking as acts of terrorism. Under the new proposal, anyone convicted of kidnapping, including kidnappers, financiers, informants, or logistic supporters, will face the mandatory death penalty with no option for fine or reduced sentence. The bill, sponsored by Opposiing Bamidele, now moves to the Senate Committees on Judiciary, National Security and Intelligence, and Interior for public hearing and refinement. For this conversation, I'm joined by a policy analyst, Mark Jacob, as well as a legal practitioner, Haruna Musa. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. Let's start with you, Haruna. How likely is it that the mandatory death penalty for kidnappers, financiers, and informants will deter Nigeria's rising abduction cases? Haruna, if you can hear me, the question is for you. Death penalty. The last time we had a death penalty that was actually carried out was in Edo State in 2016. That's according to Amnesty International. We don't actually carry out death penalties, but people are being sentenced to death in law. So, do you think that this death penalty will deter Nigeria's rising cases of abductions? Okay, I think we lost Haruna, so I'll just point the question to you, Mark. Please take it up.
I would like to say from the beginning that I was Attorney General way back in 2005 and 2006 in Kaduna State. And within that period, I personally supervised the hanging of two armed robbers who entered the house, raped the wife and daughters in front of their husband and father, and they killed everybody. They were caught. They appealed up to the Supreme Court before the sentence was actually executed, and I was part of that exercise. So I can say from a very rich background of information that the death penalty does not in any way stop criminals from undergoing or executing their criminal intentions. And in today's Nigeria, our basic challenge is that there is a complicity and a total refusal of government agencies, the institutions that are empowered by our Constitution to take care of citizens, to prevent non-state actors from holding arms and executing and killing Nigerians all over the country, that there is no intention or political will of those in government to stop the execution and killing of Nigerians. This is very painful to see. This is a shameful act that it can be related to Nigeria.
Yeah, but the
optics will be free to move around in the country and kill as many as they want. And the only thing the National Assembly can do is to go about talking about a law. The laws that require or that prohibit these things are existent. It's not the absence of law that is causing the problems in Nigeria. No, it is the absence of political will to implement the law. And that is exactly why I feel sad about Nigeria today.
All right, let's look at it from another perspective. The senators, the National Assembly itself, are being pushed. The other day, we had the Senate President say that they need expedited action because the U.S. is pressing down on their neck. And then you add to the fact that this bill for amendment was introduced just about a week ago, and it enjoys the support of the entire Senate. So my question would be, is it just for posturing? Because if you say they know that we do not actually carry out the death penalty punishment in full, is it for optics? Or do you think perhaps in their way they are acknowledging the severity of the situation we are in and trying to do their part to push the needle towards ending insecurity?
Personally, I believe and I see that the senators are not honest to Nigerians. Like I said earlier, it is not the absence of legislation that is our problem. It is the absence of political will to execute law, to enforce law. There is no requirement of any new legislation that will make it mandatory for the security agencies to go after those who are killing Nigerians. The governments of several states have said that they know where the killers are. They know where the camps are. They know they can see them using technology. They know when these bandits are moving. And ordinary Nigerians have seen, even in Niger State recently, the video was online, viral, where these motorcycles with terrorists were moving in their hundreds from one village to the other before they executed their plans. How can the Nigerian security agencies and the senators pretend that they need a law before they stop the movement of terrorists from one community to the other?
All right, let me interject again, Mark, quickly. I know we have Haruna, but I want to ask you this question because you don't seem to have a lot of faith in this pushing for the death penalty. So what, in your capacity, do you think the National Assembly can be doing now to push for more political action or more decisive action by the political elites to get us out of the situation we're currently in?
Currently, we have a National Assembly that is populated by a majority of APC senators and APC members of the House of Reps. For God's sake, let them for once take Nigerians serious. Let them for once show that their interest is not about allowances or packages. Let them for once show that they are interested in securing lives and property. The people, the terrorists that are moving from village to village are seen. They are known. Their camps are known. They kidnap people and people know where they are taken to. For God's sake, let us stop all the grammar. Let us stop all the drama and move into action. Let the federal government be moved and let the National Assembly, for instance, insist. Why is it that a school was going to be attacked? The kidnappers were seen, and 20 minutes before the kidnap, the military moved from the school. Why is that not a topical issue?
All right, Mark, we'll come back to you if we have more time, but let's see. I'm really sorry, but we'll come back to you if we have more time. But let's engage Haruna now. Hopefully his network is better. I wanted to ask you to explain a particular area of that announcement by Senate. In the lawmakers resolved to classify kidnapping as terrorism and to impose death penalty without the option of a fine and judicial discretion for all kidnapping offenses. I wanted you to speak to that fact because in order for someone to face the death penalty, they have to go through the judicial process. So explain to us what it really means technically when they say they just face the law, there should be no judicial discretion.
Very much, Felicity, for having me. You see, my main position or my main crux of the issue on this issue is that if you look at, we currently have the Terrorism Prevention Act of 2022, which is what is being repealed or trying to be amended by the Senate. Now, in that particular law, it actually discusses so many offenses ranging from kidnapping, people who are financing kidnapping, who are facilitators, and punishment, but did not specifically mention death penalty. But I don't agree. I don't believe that imposing a death penalty is actually going to reduce the amount of crime or is going to actually deter people from committing the offense. And I'm happy with your question that talks about judicial discretion. Because before you get to the point of the death penalty, you have to get to the point of arrest, you have to get to the point of arraignment. After arraignment, you have to get to the point of conviction if found guilty. Now, the big question here is, from the point of arrest to the point of arraignment to the point of conviction, how long is it going to take for the trial? We already understand how our judicial system operates. This is a process that could take a number of years before you can get a conviction. What is the conviction rate today from when we started having insurgency in this country, back from 2009 to date, which is probably around 17 years? What is the conviction? What is the number of convictions that we've been able to secure, commensurate to the number of attacks that we've had today? So the crux of the matter, or what I feel the Senate ought to do, is while imposing the issue of death penalty, the issue of a time frame within which an accused person will be arrested, tried, arraigned, tried before a court of competent jurisdiction should be specified. Okay. We've seen it in this country where the same House of Assembly or the National Assembly has actually imposed a time limit for matters involving election. We have time limit for pre-election matters and post-election matters. Why can't we have that when it has to do with the security of the country?
Okay, I think your issue really is with specifying timelines and exact punishment, and then issues with the blanket punishment for all of the accused. Thank you very much. I'm really sorry that's all the time we have for this conversation. The consensus between the both of you is that death penalty will not do much really in deterring criminality in terms of terrorism that we're looking at. Thank you once again, Mark and Haruna, for being here.